Um, so welcome to our August member meeting. I'm just gonna make sure that we stick to our announcements and timing that we have, so we have plenty of time to hear from our great presenter. And then afterwards, we will have, if we have time at the end, we will do some member news if you have news to share. But I'm going to quickly pass the baton over to Susan to read the mission statement for us.
All right. Happy to do so. WIVLA's mission is to provide an inspiring forum for women to explore and advance their creative development, to promote their work in the marketplace, and to infuse the community with their spirit of cooperation and invention. And on that note, I'd like to announce that we are seeking candidates for our 2025 board. I'm looking around this group and it looks like almost more than half of us are already on the board. But I would request that those of you that either are or are not on the board be thinking about maybe some prospective candidates. We have a lot of new people. Do we still have the 2-year, 1 year? Okay, they have to be a member for 1 year. So it's just that time of year where we need to start looking for candidates. And so we're asking for your help to do that, to help maintain our energy, enthusiasm, and innovation.
Thanks, Susan.
Sure.
And then Melissa.
All righty. Well,
I
glad
don't
to
see
see
any
everybody.
Yeah.
Welcome. I don't know that we have any new, brand new, shiny members this evening, but I also had a note to just remind everybody to update their profiles on the website, fill out the information. I myself am guilty of not having updated it for a while, so I'll put my name at the top of the list to do that. But just encourage folks to keep that up to date. And then just a reminder for everyone that our exciting 30th anniversary celebration is October 24th, 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. So I hope you've got that on your calendars. And also go to the website to RSVP. This is a free event, but of course we're going to have it catered. It's going to be a lot of fun. And so the closer we are to an accurate head count, just the better that is. So for yourself, if you have an RSVP, that'd be awesome. And if you're talking to other WIVLA members at some point, maybe just remind them too of the date and to RSVP so that they'll be there. And we have the theme of the Pearl for the 30th anniversary. And one of the fun ideas to just help break the ice, have fun, show our creativity, demonstrate our creativity. We're having before the event, a month before, an adornment party, which means we're going to be bedazzling with pearls and gems and whatever you want to bring. We're going to be bedazzling hats, scarf, a brooch, whatever you might want to have fun with that would celebrate pearls and our 30th, that then you can wear to the event on the 24th. So I personally cannot wait to see what people are going to come up with, because I know it's going to be fabulous and very creative. So that is Sunday, the adornment party, Sunday, September 29th from 2 to 4 at Rosie Turnbull's studio in Sawyer Yards. And Melody, correct me if I'm wrong, I think, is that anywhere on the website? I know it's in the newsletter. But it's just, I can look it up real fast. But it's just
I think it might be in the calendar, on the calendar.
It
Yeah,
is. It
Perfect.
is on the calendar. Yep.
Perfect. I don't know if we need to RSVP or just be there or be square on September 29th. I think it's just sort of be there. And we're going to have lots of little things provided, but you know, if it's whatever you want to bedazzle, you need to bring that. So a hat, a scarf, like I said, a pen, whatever, shoes, bring those, and then we'll have some fun things to add to it. And I think that's it. Those are the two key dates: adornment party, September 29th, and of course the big celebration, October 24th. All right. So Margot, I'm going to hand it over to you now.
Okay, so the main thing I have to announce is that be sure to get me a photograph of yourself wearing pearls and just a short paragraph about, you know, what you like about being a member of WIVLA, or what WIVLA has done for you, or how it has improved your professional and or social life, anything like that. And I put my email address in the chat, and be sure to put WIVLA in the subject line. And let's see, I don't see Rebecca, but Rebecca is one of the pearls for September, but you know, we have room for lots more. I think that's it.
All right. Thanks, Margot. And then Shirley, if you're able to hit the highlights on the visual arts side of things.
Okay, I have the information that about the collaboration. The hanging for the collaboration is going to happen on September the 8th. So that's the date that everyone needs to have their artwork there for Marie. Sadly for Marie, I will not be there until I'm not returning to Houston until like the late on the 10th. So she's going to need some help. She plans to be there all day, and she's going to announce shifts for people to help, you know, from maybe an hour or two each. And so if any of you can be there to help Marie with the hanging, but be sure that you, when she announces what time your pieces need to be there, be sure that you get them there. So she will be able to, with the help of others, get the show up at Sabine Street in Sawyer Yards. So it'll be hanging the 8th. On the 12th, there is an informal opening, and everyone's welcome to attend that. It won't be any formal reception. It will be just, you know, maybe people like me will be there handing out rack cards or just answering any questions that anyone has. But so it will be open on the 12th. The 20th is the date of the main reception and reading. So we have a lot of things to put together between now and then, and we may call on you to help us with some of these. Melody sent out a list the other night of things that need to be done before the 20th, and I didn't sleep well after that. Thanks, Melody. I began to freak out over all the different just details. So anyway, the show will be up until September the 26th. Reception is, I don't know.
No. I think it's November the 2nd, isn't it?
Yeah, sorry, Shirley. I made another update to that because Marie corrected me.
Okay.
The show will stay up until November 2nd.
November the 2nd. Thank you, because the one I read was the 26th.
Yeah, that's a
November the
short
2nd.
show.
Okay. And did she update or give the time? 5:30 to 8. The readings and the reception 5:30 to 8 p.m. So I hope y'all will attend, and I guess this is open to anyone who wants to attend, correct?
Oh, yeah. And I think, Brooke, correct me if I'm wrong, because now I'm going from memory. I think the drop-off is from 11 to 2 on the 8th. That's a Sunday.
Well, she didn't have that scheduled for me
Right.
earlier.
Right.
Okay.
It's late breaking news.
All right.
Yeah.
11
Yeah,
to
she
2
was-
on
she
the
was-
Sunday, the 8th.
Right, and we'll have a sign up genius sent out for people to volunteer
Okay, that'd be great.
shifts.
So I think that's all I have from the visual side for right now.
Fabulous. Thanks, Shirley.
Okay.
I don't see Rebecca, so Ellen, can you read off the reminders for the awesomeness that is the literary arts this fall?
Yes, yes. And so much awesomeness we got going on right now. Don't forget, coming up October 4th through 6th is Author Palooza. October 4th, the first night will be at Brazos Bookstore. And that is where we will have the launch for the anthology, Travel into Time. And I've been working with the artist who's working on the cover, and it is so cool. You'll want to buy the book just because of the cover and take it home and frame it, and then get another one that you'll want to read. It's very exciting. But anyway, the Author Palooza weekend will go on then through Saturday and Sunday, but the Friday night is when you want to come and congratulate the WIVLA members who were chosen for the anthology this year.
What is the time? What?
Oh, you would ask. I don't have that right in front of me. I'm guessing it's like a 6 or a 7. And by gosh, Margot, why don't we put that in? I bet you it's in events on the calendar. And Margot, let's put it in the newsletter, because I don't have that right in front of me. I was proud of remembering.
Yeah,
what I did.
I'm putting that in the newsletter. There was something about Rice University. Is that where the conference will be?
That's where the conference will be, Rice University.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that there wasn't really much on the website except the schedule. There wasn't like any exposition about the organization or whatever. So I didn't see anything in there about the Friday night at Brazos. So if you could find that out and get it to me, that would be great.
Absolutely.
I
I
can add
know it's going to be at Brazos.
Okay.
And I'm sure I have the time written down on some piece of paper here in my office. If I find it by 3 o'clock in the morning, I will text you. Otherwise, Margot and I will figure it out. How's that?
Okay.
Okay. More excitement.
Quick question. Ellen?
Yes.
What was that date
August,
for
October
that, the
4th.
launch?
October 4th.
October 4th.
Should be a Friday.
Okay, and do you know what the price of the book is going to be yet?
I have not heard
Do you
it
know what
stated.
the price of a copy is going to be?
Yeah, it's,
Okay.
I want to say somewhere between $15 and $21. Those are the numbers that pop up in my head, but I haven't heard a discussion where the price has been set. But if you bought them last year and the year before, they're running about, and I want to say 15 to 21. Those are the numbers sticking in my head. We'll see if I'm psychic. Because it really is a cool cover. You'll really want to see that. Okay. Any other questions? All right. In November, there are 2 reading events, and everybody should just jump at the chance to be in both of them. The member meeting in November is our annual literary reading meeting, and the theme is Pearl. So any poetry, any essays, any flash fiction, whatever you want to write about pearls, this would be the time to do it. And you will have up to 5 minutes on that meeting evening to read your pearl expose. So, and I believe we have the sign up for that on the calendar as well. Now, the most exciting thing coming up, I don't know if it's more exciting than pearls, but the Haunted Holidays, which has turned into an annual event, that also will be taking place at Brazos Bookstore. And both the Haunted Holidays and the anthology is a combined effort between WIVLA and the Houston Writers Guild and obviously Brazos Bookstore. So we're really setting up a good partnership there. And the Haunted Holidays reading is November 9th. And that will be in the evening. And I want to say, I think I set the time for that. So it's going to be like 6 or 6:30 to 8 or 8:30. The store closes at 6, and it depends on how quickly they can let us get started, you know, because they have to set up chairs and move some things around. But for that, write us your best scary story, spooky encounter, and it can be about any holiday. Haunted holidays run anywhere from Halloween to New Year's. I'm hearing voices. Okay. Anyway, you can start with Halloween. You can write about New Year's, spooky holiday stories, because it used to be in days of yore that families would get together because it was dark and cold outside and you couldn't go many places. So they would sit around and read scary stories or tell scary stories. That's like a very old time type of tradition we've brought back. Any questions?
Ellen, you're making me want to write.
Get to it. Pen in hand and get a piece of paper.
Awesome.
Thank you. How was that for off the top of my head?
That was brilliant. Thanks, Ellen.
Ellen, do these stories need to be submitted, or do we just show up with them?
No, you don't need to submit them. For the Haunted Holidays, you show up at Brazos, and again, you sign up, and you can go to the website and sign up there. So we know how many readers we'll have in an evening. But again, it can be a poem, it can be a short essay. You have up to 5 minutes to read whatever it is. And some people come in and it's one poem, and other people like me love long stories with lots of ghosts and all that kind of thing. So, and the same thing with the November reading, just sign up, let us know. And our assumption is you're writing something about Pearl. And that doesn't have to be spooky, but it could be if you wanted it to. Mine probably will be.
Go, Margot.
Yeah, I was going to say, you sign up on the calendar, but you sign up for a time slot.
Mm-hmm.
So that way, you know, and everybody else knows when you will be reading.
Yes.
Fabulous. And as if we crafted this, it is 6:29, and we like to start our presentations by 6:30. So this is great.
Then I'm back on you.
I'm handing that mic over to Shirley to introduce our fabulous presenter tonight.
Okay, thank you. I am very pleased to be able to introduce to you Ann Leis. And I've known Ann a few years. We are backdoor neighbors. Our neighborhood is designed that we have alleys with garages that open to the alley. So she and I met in the alley and have chatted many times in the alley. So originally I heard, I mean, she was always so busy and not available for things. And then she said, I'm writing a book. And I thought, oh, wow, that's great. I mentioned WIVLA to her. Said, you might enjoy joining this organization. And she let me know that she was really writing this book and didn't have time for a lot of other things to do. So anyway, she did eventually get this published. And to say I'm impressed is the understatement of the year, because it is a beautiful book. Let me tell you a little bit about Ann, separate and apart from the book. I'm going to take what she gave. So Ann is married, and she's moved. She came, I think, originally from New York, but they moved to Houston in 2010 from Dallas. She is a registered nurse by trade and has worked as a surgical, cardiovascular, and recovery room nurse. She's an active member of the United Federation of Doll Clubs, the First Houston Doll Club, and Doll Collectors of America, where she held leadership positions and has given numerous talks, seminars, and presentations. In 2012, she started writing articles about doll artists for her hobby magazine, Doll News, penning over 17 articles. That segued into 2 book projects. A children's book introducing the Holocaust to young children called Music of the Butterfly, A Story of Hope. It's a true story based on the memories of Anne's son-in-law's grandmother, an Auschwitz survivor. And then another book about a doll artist, Dewees Cochran, her life and dolls. And it was a 7-year endeavor. Now, I don't know about you all, but I don't think I could do that. I also looked around and I discovered that she has 750 photographs in this book. It is this thick. It's a big book. And Anne did all the photography herself, did all the research, and wrote the book. I think we are very fortunate to have her as a member and as a speaker tonight. She has 3 married children, 2 grandchildren, and she says 2.5, but one is due in, a little boy is due in October. So this is Ann Leis, and I'm going to let her take it over from there. She's got a wonderful book. I hope you all will acquire one. I have it. She's won numerous prizes for this book, awards, and she even signed mine. So, Anne, I'm happy to present
Thank you, Shirley. Thank you so much. Well, I feel it's my honor and pleasure to be here tonight. Shirley and I have had some great conversations, and I do remember very early on, she invited me to WIBLA, and I'm like, oh no, I can't do one more thing if I'm supposed to get this book done. And it really was, you become a hermit. In order to get it done, I just had to lock myself in the back upstairs bedroom and work on it. So, but I am pleased to be here tonight to share with you all about the whole story of the book, my journey, and what it means to be a doll collector and what it's all about. So, Melody, shall we try to share the screen? Let's see if I can get it done. We practiced the other day together.
You're ready,
I'm
Anne.
gonna share the screen. There it is. Let's see, share. Okay, now I have to put it in play. There. Do you see it?
Yep.
So I thought I would just start by talking about what the inspiration was to even think about writing this book, because I'm not a literary person. I haven't written my whole life. I wasn't an English major. I just always thought it would be so cool to write a book, even when I was a little kid. And I actually tried when I was like 9 years old. I tried to write a story about myself. And that lasted about 3 days. And then I thought, this is kind of hard to do. So I just kind of put it away. And then, but I mentioned it a few times to friends when I joined the United Federation of Doll Clubs. That's called UFDC. And my friend said, well, why don't you try writing an article for the magazine? And I was like, oh, okay. And I was invited by the editor to write a story about a well-known doll artist. And I can remember how terrified I was when I was invited to do this, and I had to say yes or no. And I literally was terrified. And I thought, well, if I say no, then everything will just go along its merry way and life will be the same. If I say yes, what kind of doors will that open? What will that lead to? And honestly, I really just had to get over the fear of failure. the fear of being exposed to people looking at your work. And I mean, I was scared. So I didn't tell anybody. And I wrote this article about this artist. I had to call her and interview her. And I wrote the article and I submitted it, but I didn't tell my family. But I found out it was accepted. And then I found out the editors only changed one word. And I told my family when it was published, and I had the magazine in hand. And that's how it started. And I can't tell you that first article, I dwelled over it. I just dwelled over it. It took me so long. And I think the very last one I did, I had to call the artist, and these are all contemporary doll artists, all from all different areas of life. And I had to call this one artist. She goes, well, I'm in a hurry. I'm doing my hair. If you want to interview me, it's got to be right now while I'm putting the curlers in. And so we had this 15-minute conversation, and I wrote her story, and I had pictures. And I was really pleased to hear that her husband said, boy, wow, did she nail it on exactly who you are and what you stood for. And I thought, oh, man, maybe I'm pretty good at this. So that led into the idea of maybe I could do more. And then I have to say that when I would see Dewees Cochran's work, her dolls, it's one of those moments where you lose your breath and you realize, oh my gosh, that's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. So I was intrigued by her work, but I didn't know who she was. I kept hearing her name, and I bought a doll that she made. I didn't even know it was her. And somebody said, oh, Dewees Cochran, she's one of my favorites. And I can remember saying to myself, who's that? Who's that? And I kept hearing the name, Dewees Cochran. And then I heard that this woman, Dewees Cochran, all of her archives were in one place at the national headquarters, and they were all in English, and they were in the Midwest. So I thought, oh, now we had just moved to Houston, and my husband was very busy. He opened up an office for his company, and I needed a project. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And so that's how it all began for me. And in between all of those 7 and 8 years, I managed to write the Little Butterfly book, but that's a different story for a different time. So I'm going to begin by just talking to you briefly about why are dolls important today. And we as doll collectors feel that they give us insight to cultures. They're actually very important to many cultures, including most important to Germany, to France, and to Japan. They help with child development. They give you that emotional connection. You always remember, like if you see the doll you played with when you were a kid, you were like, oh my God, that was my doll. And it elicits positive memories, hopefully, about childhood. It's a way of helping, especially children, but sometimes elderly people communicate. Helps with the maternal development. Sometimes dolls can tell a story, or there's something about them that reveals history or a story. A lot of times dolls raise money for charity, and I'll go through some of that. And I'm not sure if anybody in this group knows, but it's been documented that even chimpanzees, baby chimps, use sticks as dolls. So there's something about that feeling of another human or another live creature close to you, a doll, that's important among humans and our close relatives. So who collects dolls? I wanted to explain that it's usually people who love all forms of art, sculpting, painting, textiles, the human figure, people who love history. That's a big one. There's always some type of connection with a doll and history. People who love fashion. The Goudet Book of Fashion was very popular in the 1800s, and many dolls wore clothing from those styles. People who love textures and textiles. People who love children. And people who love children's books, especially children's illustrators. And I wanted to give you an example of a few of the early illustrators that are very near and dear to doll collectors' hearts. There's Rose O'Neill up in the left-hand corner. She premiered her Cupid sketches in the Ladies' Home Journal in 1909. She was a single woman, and she was at some point desperate and needing to make a living for herself, and she did it through her illustrations. Johnny Gruelle created Raggedy Ann and Andy in 1918 with his books that came out. Mariana and Miss Flora McFlimsy books came out in 1949. I'm sure some of you have seen the Kate Greenway illustrations. Those are the Victorian illustrations from the 1800s. They've made dolls from those illustrations. And Palmer Cox and his Brownie characters from 1887. So through the decades, different companies and individuals have made dolls from these fabulous illustrations. So illustrations are always big for doll collectors. Now, why do we collect? As I mentioned, we see dolls as a pure form of art. There's so much that goes into a doll, the sculpting of the face and the body, the skill in painting, the skill in designing the clothing and the sewing techniques and the hair and everything. Every aspect of a doll is, in our opinion, a true art form. We like dolls because we feel we're preserving part of history through dolls, and you can educate through dolls. You can support children through dolls. There's even a big history of women entrepreneurs who have saved their families and their community, their churches from starvation and being poor by making and selling dolls. And we'll go through there with that. And of course, the most special is just the beauty and the rarity of a doll, which is also the love of a human form found in a doll. And I wanted to show you a couple examples of that. I could talk about it forever, but I'm just going to give you a couple quick examples. Here we have, some of you may have remembered the story of the Donner family that tried to cross the Oregon Trail in, what year was that? 1846. And they got caught up in the mountains for the winter. That's a fabulous big story. There was a little girl in that party named Patty Reed, and she held onto her doll and kept her doll with her. And that doll still exists, and it's in the museum out west. But this is a picture of that doll. On the right, these dolls, these Chinese dolls, are dolls from, they're called the Door of Hope dolls. And they are dolls that were, the clothing was sewn by little girls, children that were rescued from slavery and prostitution on the streets of Shanghai. There was a mission that got these girls, they brought them to the mission, they took care of them, they educated them, and they taught them how to sew. So all of the clothing on these dolls are sewn by these children, which is just fabulous. And in the center, these are these dolls are actually very old, 1700s. We call them English wooden dolls, but they're dressed as Indians, and these are the Eastern Creed Indians. Now, what's so special about these dolls is that the Creed Indians were one of the first Indians that partnered and traded with they're called the English Hudson Bay Company in the 1700s. And they were the first Indian tribe to assimilate into European ways. So their original costume, they thought was lost. But when these dolls surfaced, they realized these are, there's only 2 examples of the original costumes of the pre-Indians. And it's a magnificent find and extremely special as a pictorial record of what the Indians wore at that time. They thought it was lost. So you can see how the dolls tell us a story about how they dressed, how they cared for their baby, what kind of things they wore on them. So let's go on. Dolls also teach children. And here on the left is a Martha Chase doll. This doll was made, she's got a special finish on her. This doll was used to teach children how to bathe babies. And there's another example of the doll that was used to help them teach them how to sew. And on the right, these are dolls that raised money for children's charity. And Miss Rose Piercy raised money for the veterans of the Civil War. And she continued, we say her career was going around the country raising money for the veterans. She's currently owned by Barbara Streisand, who loaned her out. So there was about a 20-year period where, in association with some doll people, they would have a weekend event and she would raise money for veterans. The Colombian doll was actually chosen to go around the world raising money for children's charities. So you can see dolls, and each one has a fabulous story that goes with it. Now, what about doll collecting today? I can tell you that we actually have a brick and mortar building. It's called United Federation of Doll Clubs. This building includes a huge archival collection of the history of different kinds of dolls. The Barbie, my artist, all her archives are there. The Cupid dolls, Rose O'Neill's history and ephemera. There's a library and there's a beautiful museum. We have 17 regions in the US, 16 in the US, 1 international. There is, I can't see it, about 358 clubs and 3,500 members. Every year we have a national convention that brings in about 900 people. And there's an official journal, Doll News Magazine. I added the other one because my dear friend is the chief editor of the Antique Doll Collector. That's the other most popular magazine. And there's 5 US well-known doll auction houses in the country. There's one in particular that everybody loves, and this is called Theriault. And I just wanted to give you an example of what I'm talking about here in 2024. On the left is an early 17th century English wooden doll. This year, she went for, at auction, she went for $90,000. In the center is a Richard. This doll was created by a gentleman in the 1800s. He was a jeweler and he was an apprentice to learn how to make dolls. And he got this idea to put these jeweled orbs on the breastplate of the doll. And inside the orb is pictures, tiny pictures of different buildings in France. And when you shine light into them, you can see it. It kind of like magnifies the picture. Now, the problem with that is that when you put the doll's shoulder plate on the body, there's no light that goes in there. So his idea was fabulous, except it didn't work. This doll is so rare. The larger picture, that doll went for $160,000 in 2024, this year. Only 160,000 because there's no more pictures in those orbs. The smaller picture In 2018, that doll went for a record-breaking amount of $335,000. The last one here is the Japanese friendship doll. This is there's a whole book on the story of the Japanese friendship dolls. I could do a whole program for you on these dolls. They're so fabulous. The story is so special about these Japanese dolls coming to the US as a token of friendship by the very top artists in Japan who sculpted them, did the kimonos and the lacquer sets and everything. This doll at auction this year went for $220,000. So you can see it's big business and important business. People want to preserve these dolls. These dolls have gone into private collectors' homes. It's not just museums. So, okay, so this is the picture that I've given you about doll collecting today. Now I want to start with my artist, Dewees Cochran. She was born in 1892. She lived almost 100 years. Why? Why did I pick Dewees? Number one, I was in love with her work. But Dewees is considered a pioneer for the American doll art movement. She was the first American contemporary artist who took all of her years, her 27 years of classical art training, and put it into making a play doll. Now, she did this because her situation was desperate. She had to do something to make money. She was on her own, but it had never been done before. And her designs, her sculpting ability was so revolutionary for the time that it really got a lot of people's attention. So I'd like to show you a little bit about what she did. She was the first to create dolls called the portrait dolls. She was making dolls that looked like ordinary children. Now in 1934, before 1934, all the dolls that were made in America were baby dolls. They didn't want older looking dolls. It was all about the baby dolls and helping little girls being able to be good mothers, yada, yada, yada. In 1934, Shirley Temple came on the scene. And then all of a sudden, everybody wanted a doll that looked like a little girl. And so there was this little shift towards what we call realism. Now, Dewees came to New York City in 1934. She started making dolls that looked like ordinary children. I say ordinary, they were upper class children. Another thing she did was, these are all individually sculpted dolls. And she realized it was taking up too much time. So she researched and created typical Caucasian children, American children features, and came up with 6 facial types, and she called these the look-alike faces. Now, the intention of this was to have a parent come in, pick a face style that matched their child, and then they would match the hair and the clothing, and it was close to looking exactly like the child, instead of the pure individual sculpt. The other thing she did was she created grow-up dolls. And in this situation, she created dolls that retained their features as they matured. Now, nobody had done that at that time in the early 50s, and nobody does that now. It took 8 body styles and 24 individual sculpted faces to create these dolls. So another thing that Dewees did that nobody really knows about is she created a Barbie and Ken type doll 20 years before Barbie and Ken were introduced in 1959. But she made these dolls. She really was proud of her sculpting, they didn't sell well on the test market, so they were never mass produced. I don't think the country was ready for them at that time. Okay, and what I tell people, why it's hard to identify a Dewees Cochran doll, because all of the faces look so different and unique. A lot of times people can say, oh, that's a Madame Alexander doll, you can tell immediately, or oh, that's a Sweet Sue, immediately you can tell because of the face sculpt. But Dewees Cochran dolls, you can't always see, you can't always pinpoint it because they all look so different because she did individual work. Okay, now, what I want to do now is explain to you briefly how it happened. Okay, I have to set the stage back in 1936. Let's go back to 1936. Fortune magazine came out with an article saying it's a good year for dolls. There were about 50 doll companies in the US. There was 5 that were the top big nationally known companies, including Madame Alexander, E.F. Horseman, Ideal, that's the company that made Shirley Temple, and F&B Doll Company. Business was big, but it was fierce competition. Everybody watched the other person. If the second they realized some other company's doll was doing good, that they would copy it some way. Okay, it was just a ruthless kind of business. And then there's this gentleman. His name is Bernard Lipfert. Bernard Lipfert was the leading sculptor in New York City. People say that 4 out of the 5 dolls that were created in America could be traced back to Bernard Lipfert's sculpting. He was the artist, and he was not loyal to one company. Anybody could get work from him as long as they could pay. He lived in New York. So if the Shirley Temple doll was doing well in the market, another company would go to Bernard Lipfert and said, gee, do you think you can make me something similar? And he would tweak his sculpt and make them something similar. So what happened? The market was flooded with copycats. Here's an example of some of his work. You may recognize some. He did Bubbles and Deity. He did Patsy. She came out in 28. Shirley Temple, of course, in 34. The Dion quintuplets in 35. Tony, and even Sparkle Plenty. Let me see. I'll just clear my page. Okay. So what happened? Another thing that was going on is that if you wanted to, let's say you, like Dewees Cochran had examples of her work. Where does she go? What does she do? How does she get somebody to look at her work? She had to go to New York City. Why? Because New York City was the wealthiest, most diverse city in America. It's still the most wealthiest city, which I did not know. And Toy Fair is based in New York City. So every year people would come from around the world and go to Toy Fair. Now, back in 36, there was maybe 1,500 people that attended Toy Fair, and it was their first year that people from Europe were coming over to the United States. Nowadays, Toy Fair is in the Javits Center, and it takes up 8 football fields of space to show toys and different work. And at that time, the toy industry was basically based in a department store. That's where people shopped. That's where people saw new things for the first time. So they would go to the department store. So when Dewees wanted to show her doll creations, she had to go to the department stores at that time. And like I said about Shirley Temple, she ushered in a new idea for realism, dolls that looked more real. And that was right exactly the same timing of what Dewees was doing. Okay, so what happened? Dewees moved to New York City in 1934. Within 1 year, she went at the end of 34. Within 1 year, 10 months actually, she landed herself a contract with one of the top 5 companies in the country. That's the F&B Doll Company. That is, I can't emphasize to you how unusual that is. It just doesn't happen. It would be like an individual going to New York and going into the Majestic Theater and saying, well, you know what, I'm going to audition for Wicked and get the lead. It just didn't happen, but it did for her. Why? Because they saw her designs and they were captivated. They had never seen designs like this before. It was alarming to them and exciting, thrilling, especially for the partners of F&B. Now, this is what F&B said. Make a doll using your 6 head types. We'll pick 4 and we'll mass produce them. They created what's known as the American Children dolls. These dolls are about 20 inches tall. It wasn't only the face, it was the body design. You can see the body design on this doll. It's more mature looking, it's tall, it's slender, and they dress them like preteens. You can see on the right, this is what upper class children dressed like during the 1930s. They had suits and hats and they had gloves. And the big thing is that the arms and hands, they had separated hands. Now that's not a new invention. The European dolls did too, but they were made of hard rubber so you could apply gloves. So that was what a big advertisement for them. Now, I want to show you an example of what I mean, a comparison of the body designs. You can see Dewees Cochran's design is in the center. It's tall, slender. Look, you can even see the muscle definition, the little indentation of the throat. It really was revolutionary for the time. And if you look at the comparison, the little Patsy doll looks like a little baby doll with a little baby tummy. And the Shirley Temple is a little girl doll. She still has a little pooch. So F&B chose Dewees Cochran's design. Now, sadly, they were pirates, and she did not have an agent. She thought she could negotiate the contracts without a lawyer or an agent, and they absolutely stole everything that she designed, especially that body design. And the other thing I wanted to add into this is that the styles were changing. During World War II, dresses were slim, simple, straight, not much to them. They were called utility dresses. And then in 1947, after the war, Christian Dior came out with the new look. And some of his dresses included 20 yards of fabric on them. So I put in the Barbie, between the changing fashions, the Dewees Cochran body design, it was the perfect marriage. And remember I said the minute they thought a doll was doing well, and those American Children dolls were doing well, the market was flooded all of a sudden with fashion type dolls. From 1940, oh, that says 1040, it should be 1940, with the little lady, the Sweet Sue in 51, Tony in 49, Sissy in 55. And I can't see that last one under there. I think it's, let me see. Well, the other doll, I think that was, it's not Barbie.
It's Miss Revlon.
Revlon doll, that's right. All of these dolls were made at that time. Now, I said there were copycats. One of the major companies is E.F. Horseman. This is what he made in 1937, Little Naughty Sue and Roberta. Look at what he made in 38. He made a teenager doll. I mean, it's completely copycatting the American Children doll. And one of the things that they wrote on here, I'm just going to quote from the hang tag. They were called Sweetheart Dolls. Is a true reproduction of girls between the ages of 10 and 16. They are dressed in the latest fashions. They even went on to say their arms are made of hard rubber and therefore unbreakable. Wow, talk about plagiarizing. But that's what they did to secure the bottom line. I could show you a million examples of this. So what does this all mean, really? That Dewees Cochran paved the way for many American artists, doll artists in particular. And what her designs did, it changed the direction of the way play dolls were actually being made in America. But she received no credit because all of those designs were stolen from her. Even the director of one of those top major doll companies flew up to her studio and begged to see her new innovations. She was very creative, very artistic. She didn't want to show him, but he wouldn't leave until she did. So she showed him a new joint for the upper arm. And sure enough, 2 years later, they had incorporated that in their dolls, and she couldn't fight it. She didn't have the money. She actually, it's a bit of a sad story. She actually died very poor, bad teeth, in a nursing home, and, quietly by herself. But her work still lives on and is cherished today. And they still know it was still good enough where actually of all companies, the F&B Doll Company reintroduced her work over the decades. So her name stayed alive. Her work was fabulous. Everybody knew it. And that's how I came on board later. And through the help of a few other people that helped protect her work along the way. And that's why she's highly thought of among the contemporary artists today, because she was the first to do this kind of work, and it helped them know that they also could make dolls, and they used her as their example. They could do the painting, they created what they wanted, and all of those people have become very successful over the years. Here is my book. I'm happy to share that I did win a few independent book award places. I got first in biography and a finalist for the overall book design. First in arts and crafts and hobbies, an honorable mention. You made the short list, grand prize, and a second in crafts and hobbies with the Benjamin Franklin. So that's the story. It is a beautiful book. It is a beautiful story, one about a woman trying to make her way during a time where 90% of the women did not work outside the home. So she was successful, and it's just sad that she's not more recognized. But with this book and help of others, we're helping to show what she truly was in America. So that's it. Thank you for listening. I'm not sure how to unshare.
Oh,
Stop.
I think there's a button maybe at the top, stop sharing.
Yeah, there we
Okay,
go.
and I will do you a favor and there.
There we go.
Wonderful.
Thank you for listening.
Interesting. So I'm curious, and Melody, with these various doll organizations that you belong to, are there any dolls that are coming out currently that are kind of identified as collectibles, or I mean, maybe they're designers or what have you that created them?
Yes. In America, I would say the most popular doll artist today is a gentleman. It's a team, a husband and wife team, and his name is R. John Wright, and he makes an absolutely beautiful wool felt doll creation. And he and his wife have always been very particular about the quality of their materials. And if it's a button, they'll use pewter, or wool or leather or silver or whatever they need to do. And he's done, I have a few.
You've kind of muted out your background. I have seen it when you have your background blurred right now. I do know you have some dolls back there.
I can undo
Yeah,
that.
you can.
Please
Let us
do.
all see as part of your collection, I guess.
Where is the button that I do that?
I don't know where you just went. I've
Is it the
lost you.
background?
Okay, so if you go to video,
Yes.
do y'all see her anymore? Oh, there you are. Gosh, you
Okay,
left.
there it is.
Okay.
Ah.
There
I'm
you
not
go.
a hoarder, but here's on this side are all the Dewees Cochran dolls I've collected, and these are just some of the antique dolls on this side. The Arjone Wrights are here. I'll turn on the light.
Oh no, that made it worse, didn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
it
Zoom
did.
does some weird stuff with light. Yeah.
Here's some of
There
the
we go.
Arjone Wrights right there.
How many, do you know how many dolls you have?
Oh no, I don't keep track of that. My husband would like to
I
know.
was gonna say that's a number you want to say you don't know.
May I say
Um,
that one day Anne asked me over to see her doll collection, and I had no idea. I thought it was going to be like maybe one section that you see. And I walked into the room that she's dedicated to this collection, and it was just like, oh, they're beautiful. So later I asked if I could bring my granddaughter. She was, I guess, 12 or 13 at the time, and she hasn't stopped talking about it. So
Oh, really?
it is wonderful. Yes.
Here's an example. Let me grab an example. This little girl is one of my pride and joys. This is a Raggedy Ann. You can see. But this Raggedy Ann was made before they went into production.
Oh wow.
This was made on the kitchen table by the family.
Mm.
And we know that because of the pattern on the dress matches the first edition book. And he had two sisters helping him. And I don't know if you can see this, but the sisters weren't excellent seamstresses. So they didn't want to make a separate piece of fabric for the black boot. So they just painted over the striped foot. And this is how we can tell that this is one of the earliest that were ever made. And there's maybe, I don't know how many, not that many. She probably would belong in a museum. So I'll probably donate her someday to the national headquarters, but she's one of my pride and joys. And there's not much to her, but it's history. It's history. Are there any? Oh, and her face is drawn. You can see her drawn face.
Oh.
All the mouth and the nose and the lashes, that's all drawn. It's not silk screened on. So, do you have any other questions?
So okay, I just we should go have coffee. So what about like these every year or so they release these American dolls?
American Girl.
doll.
American Girl. See,
See, we can't help but those are our future collectors, really. The girls that play with American Girl dolls. Sadly, the company is very closed and they will not do anything with the National Doll Organization. We don't know why. It's very sad. We love them and we do everything we can. We sometimes you can pick up those dolls used and we clean them up and give them to underprivileged children and help. But for some reason they they don't want to be a part of our national organization, but they are a great company. I can't help but feel that the inspiration, some of the inspiration might have come from when they were doing the research on the dolls. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. That she might have stumbled upon Dewees Cochran's work, because Dewees always wanted to do a book with a doll and do the history book with a doll. And that's been documented, but who knows, really.
Wow.
And will those be collectibles? Maybe some special pieces will be, where they only make a limited edition of them, mint in box kind of thing. But if they make too many, then they're not. Like with Barbie, they made millions of Barbies, and probably the number one doll sells for about $1,500. And the early clothes do well because they're all made and with real zippers and clips and things, not the Velcro. So it just depends.
So if someone had a doll that might be a collectible, where would I go to see if the museum would like to have the doll? I mean, what kind of vetting process do they use to accept or reject dolls?
Well, like with our organization, you can send pictures and a letter and say, hey, I got this doll. Are you interested? And they will say, this is a great doll, but we've already got one, or it's not really worth what you think. Sadly, in the 1980s, it was a huge decade of reproductions. And the Ladies' Home Journal, and you remember seeing the advertisement where you have 5 payments and you get the doll, which is in these frilly costumes and everything. The market was absolutely flooded with all these kinds of dolls, and they're not worth a penny, unfortunately. And that's what people kind of think about when they think about, oh, doll collecting. And some of these older people's homes are they look like hoarders filled with these kinds of dolls, but it's not what, I don't want to say the real collectors, because if you love something, you collect it. It doesn't necessarily have to have a big value. But I think the people that I collect with are people who like the history behind the doll, the provenance, the story, the family history behind it. But if you've got something you want me to see, you can send me a text message with a picture or something. I can let you know, or guide you to who would know.
I'm just thinking, if I downsize to move, I wouldn't want to just give the doll to anyone. Yeah, just to get rid. I mean, if somebody could enjoy it, like in a museum or collection or something.
Yes. In the US, when you want to donate a collection to a museum, they usually said, well, can you build us a wing?
Maybe a flaw.
A wing and a prayer, yeah. Like
Yeah.
I can make a talon.
There's a few places around the country that have nice little examples. The Toy and Miniature Museum in Kansas City, the Strong Museum in Rochester, New York. These are some places that are, unfortunately, it can't be just for dolls. Those expensive dolls that I showed you that sold at auction this year, that's because a friend of mine's museum closed. It was her family's museum. And after 20 years, actually she passed away. And so they donated some dolls and they auctioned off the rest. And they were exquisite pieces, but they went really, really high. So you just can't have a doll museum per se. It has to be more like a children's museum with hands-on to draw in more customers, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, Anne, well,
Yes.
thanks for the presentation, but it's wonderful. What were they? I mean, I know that some of her dolls were made from sort of a hard rubber, but did it just go from wood? I mean, like there's old China dolls, and then there's wood, and that seems like quite the leap to go from wood to some kind of more pliable thing. How'd that happen?
Well, they were constantly inventing in the 20s and 30s the
Yeah.
different new materials, new mediums, and they were at the turn of the century. They were using it was called composition, which is
Okay.
wood, pulp, and glue that was pressed together and formed, and then they
Okay.
kept dipping that in paint, layers and layers to get a finish on it, and those are called composition dolls. And then my artist, Dewees Cochran, in 1934, they had just come out with plastic wood. They called it was a wood filler called plastic wood. And
Okay.
basically it's wood filler where you fill a crack in your windowsill or something. And she
Yeah.
was able to mold that. And actually, I wish she had used that because she segued into latex and then Voltex. And those two products are not everlasting. They were unbreakable, and that was the trend at the time, was to create a doll that wouldn't break, because all those French and German dolls, bisque dolls, were breaking when kids were playing with them.
Yeah.
So she made this unbreakable doll, which was great at the time, but the material goes bad if it's not properly cared for.
Huh.
So,
Interesting.
but
Thanks.
but her painting skills, even there's artists today who make a doll, but they don't paint well. And painting the eyes is one of the hardest part. I mean, it's, it takes 7 or 10 layers of painting to get the eyes right. And it's really, well, an art to do all of it. I can pull one out if you want to see one.
Sure.
Let me
Sure.
see.
Yeah.
She I don't know if you can see this doll. She's got little breast bumps, and she's gonna take her out of the stand. So here she is.
So
She made
sweet.
this little face.
Very sweet.
my
What were
God.
they
All
using for
done.
hair?
It's human hair,
Ah.
because that's what they used back then.
Wow.
And little leather shoes, cotton socks, and beautiful, beautiful painting on the face.
Mm.
And it's a part of American history, and the untold story of, it's like the little doctor that discovers something, no one knows his name because the NIH takes over and says, we discovered this. It's kind of thing. That was her. She was an individual. She did innovative, creative work that at that time was starting to get a little notice. But the war broke out, people died, things changed. Nobody was making dolls during the onset of World War II, and she just didn't have a lot of good luck.
Oh. Wow. I had to
But,
go get, you talk about history and telling stories and how families pass along things. Here's the 1862 Civil War doll. That was my great grandmother's baby doll.
oh my
I
gosh.
love that.
Isn't that something? She's got her little
Yes.
britches.
Um,
So,
And so
It-
you
yeah.
just have that sitting out? You don't have that protected anywhere?
well, I figured sitting out is probably its most protected at the moment. And my sister, I have the little girl, and my sister has the little boy who has little suspenders.
Good.
I don't know what, yeah. So it sits right there in my little bookshelf.
You know,
Those are
Melissa,
great.
in New York City just had an exhibit of early Black dolls that were made by unknown artists. And that exhibit was then sent over to the Toy and Miniature Museum in Kansas City.
Mm.
And it is an absolutely stunning exhibit of Black doll artistry. A
Oh,
cloth,
that'd be
most of
cool
them
to
were
see.
cloth.
Yeah.
The way they sculpted faces and
Well, I love the way they stitch these little embroidered the eyes.
Yeah. Oh, they're
Yeah.
so
yes.
cute.
Just
Wow.
little
Is she,
embroidered.
how old is she?
Well, I believe it was her baby doll, and she was born in 1862.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's
I can't
awesome.
remember. I can't remember if she was living in Kansas or if she was living in Virginia when when she was born, but somewhere in that area.
Wow, that's a
Yeah,
special doll.
I know. I keep thinking, do I want, I need to like pass it on to a niece or a and I'm not quite ready to give it up because I
Yeah.
grew up playing with it because my grandmother gave it so it's just one of those such family
An
history,
emotional connection. Yes.
exactly.
But they don't look like they've been overloved.
No.
I mean, look like they're still in really good shape.
Oh, she's getting a little weak in the arm stitch, and I had a poodle that got a hold of one little hand that about killed that poodle when I was a kid. But, yeah, we were told to take care of it.
I'll share one more with you that I haven't even unwrapped since I've come home. Convention was just a couple weeks ago, and I have a very supportive husband, I have to say, but she's considered the oldest patent doll in America.
Oldest what? What kind? Patterned?
Oldest patent, like patent, like
Patent, okay, yeah.
patent doll in America. She was made in Rhode Island, a single woman, making a living again. Oh, I haven't seen her in a while. Is,
Oh,
Isaiah
wow.
Walker,
oh,
Isaiah Walker doll. This is a extremely rare doll. There's a few out there. And she's got her little shoes.
Oh, cute.
And there's one woman that lives in Pennsylvania that's been cornering the market on these types of dolls. She has a whole house full of them, about 60 or 70. And it's very hard to be able to acquire one. So I started asking around, to everybody, if you've got one, I can't possibly get one on auction because she gets them on auction and everything. So I did get one. So she's my most special.
Oh, that's great.
So Anne, do you have to have any special humidity levels in the room where those dolls are?
I should. I do have them in locked cases, and we put in a new ceiling fan, and I try to make sure the temperature in the room is a good temperature. To take care of them. So far, so good.
Oh,
I think we're all just leaning forward and
I know.
wondering
I
when
know.
we can.
Anytime
It's
you want
just-
to come over and see the collection in person, anybody.
Well, I was just
Okay.
thinking, but I didn't know whether
An
to ask you in
outing.
front of everybody. But it would be a great WIVLA outing.
Yes, we could go have tea.
And you might think
yeah.
about that.
I'd
And
love to.
Jean, you
That'd be
might
so
think
fun.
about that for, what do we call them? Not
Outings.
workshops.
Outings.
Outings.
Outing.
Outing.
Or an outing.
Yeah, that we,
It's
and
like
it's
a-
usually They usually aren't really big, like you won't have 50 people showing up, but I think
no
it would
more
be
than 40.
wonderful.
It's a field trip.
Yeah,
It's like a
a
studio tour or it's a
Yeah,
collection
yeah.
tour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I promise you, you will be amazed when you see this collection.
I'd love to.
Yeah,
I'd
yeah,
love to.
that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, let's just
she's-
invite ourselves to your house.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that
I'm
sounds like a
happy.
great idea.
Oh.
So,
Kay,
and, oh,
Kay,
go
you
ahead,
have
Kay.
a question?
I'm a literary person, so my mind is going as well with the historical aspects of your talk, which I greatly appreciated, and all of your expertise in this. But I'm thinking, what an intriguing story you could make about maybe some ruthless collectors, or how people find out where a doll is and how do they get their hands on it. And I could see some possibilities, maybe humorous, but also maybe just intrigue and kind of mysterious, of how people get dolls into their collection. I think that I think it would be fun to do because of all the artistry behind it too, and the craftiness, everything. It brings in so many elements. Yeah.
It does
Fun.
actually, and it's like a word of mouth for some of the best pieces. Unless they go to auction. If they're auction, anyone in the world can get them. And that's what makes it hard.
It would make great
so-
mystery stories.
Yeah, it sounds like a Nancy Drew novel in the making.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
I think there is Nancy Drew with doll in the title. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, with doll in the
I was thinking of the haunted holidays,
Yeah.
story, a fiction story, making it really scary, Anne.
Yeah, it could be
Write
just
an
short,
article.
just 5 minutes. Yeah.
Well, the
Yeah.
only thing is that some people have a bad feeling about dolls because they think the eyes are scary and all that business.
Yeah.
So we try not to say scary stories. We don't want any Chucky stories.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no, we don't.
We're actually insulted. But speaking of stories, I mean, so many of these dolls have so many stories. But there's even during World War II, there was a woman named Valvalie Dickinson who was a spy for Japan, and she was a doll dealer. And she was, I think my artist, Dewees Cochran, knew her because she sold some of Dewees's things. But she would send letters around describing how two dolls are broken on the head and they need to be fixed and blah, 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 blah. But what she was really saying is what ships were in what port and what repairs they were.
Oh,
That's cool.
They tracked her down. She was a little mousy kind of lady, and they caught her and they arrested her. And she was actually a disgruntled doll collector because she said that she tried to join, and I don't think it was Doll Collectors of America, my organization. There's another one that she tried to join and they would not accept her. And I don't know why. There used to be a little snooty back then. And so she was angry about it. So that kind of led to her. And her husband was a diplomat, but she's one of the FBI's top 100 most wanted.
get out.
No,
Wow.
no, you can Google her, and it's an
Wow.
amazing story.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
Ian, what were your doll clubs thinking about the chaos around Beanie Babies? I mean, there were people who were thinking they were gonna, have their retirement in these Beanie Babies, and all of a sudden they're worth like a nickel. I myself
know.
never had one, but
It got a little out of hand, didn't it?
it did.
Just a
I'm
little.
not sure what people thought. And I don't know, but I have a whole basket of them, not the expensive ones, but we picked them up for the kids.
I have a question that goes kind of along with that. My grandson is 9 and he likes to collect these things that he calls stuffies. And one of
Oh,
them
yes.
is this.
Oh,
And he like tells story. He's got the other one. He's got the Mario and the Luigi, and he's got all the characters that go with it. And he tells stories with these. He makes up these little plays about them and all of that. But I'm just wondering if maybe in the realm of dolldom, if there would ever be a place for. I think that someday this is going to be sort of an iconic figure, because it represents so
Mario.
much of a
Mario.
children's childhood these days, So, I know it's a way step down from the beautiful handmade dolls that you have, but
Did we ever think that, back in the time, we didn't really think Barbies in '59 when they first came out, that
No.
she'd be so iconic. You just don't know what's going to catch. Here's an example of, I think this was in 1910. This is called a Billiken. And it's a stuffed animal with a Chinese head.
Oh dear.
When he came out, he was so ugly. He was cute. And all of a sudden, people just thought, this is 1912, I have on there, I think, that he was a good luck charm. And it went off the deep end like the Beanie Baby. People just thought he was a good luck charm. And there was just this craze to get one. Now, are they really worth anything now? They're slightly collectible, but not what it was back in the turn of the century. So you just don't know what's going to take off. But some of these pure things like Miss Raggedy, an early one. I have one that was first in production, but this is pre-production. And the Arjan, I would say, these days with the internet and eBay and some of the shopping websites, you can kind of gauge what's doing well. For example, the contemporary artists that I mentioned, Arjan Wright dolls, they have such high standards for their work, and you pay for it, but it's doing well on the secondary markets. And I can't say that a lot of the other dolls are. And actually other dolls that are beautiful work from England and Germany and stuff like that, they just aren't doing quite as well on the secondary market. But then you can kind of judge how they're doing by the eBay market. Pre-eBay, nobody knew what was valuable and what wasn't. And now you can kind of see, that's doing well. Here's go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to show you an example of his work. I don't know if you can see it, but she's made of, I have to turn her this way.
Is that Marcella?
It's Marcella and Raggedy.
I have the books. I have those old books.
She's made of wolf felt, leather shoes, hand painted, mohair wigs. And she has her tags like the Stife teddy bears have tags and numbered. And they only made 100 of them. So a doll like this is showing promise on the secondary markets.
Where her face is just beautiful the way it's done.
I don't know if I should come to your house or not. I might leave with that one.
Melody shows up with a big trench coat.
Well, a lot of them are on eBay, so you can some of them are. I don't know if Marcella is, but
Well, those
Thank
books
you,
that you
Kate.
had talked about, with those were Marcella's toys in those.
Yes.
I think you've taken us back to our childhood.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all like remembering all of our dolls and
Yeah.
thinking about them and wanting them again and
Well, see,
And wanting
everyone's
yours.
wanting
everyone's
unwanting
smiling.
yours.
Yeah. They make you smile, really. And they sometimes bring back good memories or not. I mean, I can remember playing with Barbies until 6th grade, and I was shamed into stopping because the really cute paper boy came up onto the porch and all of us girls were sitting on the porch playing Barbies. And we all just, oh my gosh, that's when I said, okay, you know, I think I need to stop playing with Barbies.
Well, at least on the front porch.
At least on the front. I would love to have everybody come over. I love talking about the dolls and showing them and, you know,
That'd be
sharing.
fun.
We all like to share our dolls.
Oh, that'd be great.
I don't know if you guys are
Well, and that
familiar
would
with
be-
oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and that would be great because I'm new to the group and you all seem very nice, but I don't really know anybody except Shirley. And it's not as personable. The Zoom's not as personable.
That's why we
So-
love our outings.
Yeah.
We'll just
Yeah.
like
Yes.
Melissa said, we'll just invite ourselves
Field
to your
trip.
house.
Field trip time.
Yep.
Yes, yes.
Maybe. Oh, Shirley, what do you think? Should we go get a bunch of stuff from that tea house and take it to your house and then walk across the alley to her? Because I
Well,
don't
we
want to
could do
get
that. Yeah.
tea on
I mean,
her stuff.
yeah, we could do that. Have my house be the gathering and the, you know, the tea and the crumpets or whatever
Well,
or
And could
scones.
serve us.
Let's-
Yeah.
Let's consider it like a grown-ups tea party. So everybody has to bring their favorite doll along.
Oh, okay.
I once did this as a dress-up thing, but I don't think I could talk all of you into that. But yeah, everybody has to bring a teapot and everybody has to bring a teacup and everybody has to bring some sort of munchies.
Okay, so you're
We'll do that.
organizing this. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
Well, I can tell that this is so successful, and it's just, you inspired us in so many ways and informed us, and we're learning a lot and have learned a lot. And
Mhm.
you all, I just want to put in a plug for her book. It is fabulous, and you could get it on Amazon.
Okay.
Oh, but you
Nice.
can just tell me if you want it. And
Oh, okay. Oh, and can I share the fact that one day, because our garage is back up and across the alley, the garage door was open and it was filled with these pallets of books. And I thought, what is that? I mean, we're talking like a huge delivery. And they stayed in your garage for a little while until you found a place to put them, right, Anne?
Yes, because I kept telling my husband, you know, I think we need to look at storage. I think when these books come, there's going to be a lot of books. He goes, no. We're going to just storm in the garage and put them in the house. Like, I don't think so. And then sure enough, the FedEx truck shows up. It took up the whole, it was 5 pallets. And they're big, it's a big
Wow.
book. I've got one here.
I
It's a
mean,
big
they were
book.
not little short stacks of books. They were like,
I mean, it's a big
Oh my
book.
God.
Big book.
Yeah.
Coffee table book.
Oh,
Man.
And that's the only half of the story, Shirley. I told him, don't touch the pallets. We're gonna have to do something. And he goes, no, let's at least try bringing one of them up to the 3rd floor, and that's where we'll store them, right? So
you'd
in
have
the
to
summer,
reinforce the foundation.
we carried it was a half a pallet, no, I think it was a full pallet, 30 books up 3 flights of stairs. Each box is 36 pounds. And we were running up and down those 3 flights of stairs, and we get them all the way up there and we're laying them out. And then I'm like, you know what? These books are too heavy for this floor. There's no way we should be doing this. So I
Oh.
had visions of the ceiling falling in on me at night. So we had to carry all the boxes down the 3 flights of stairs, back to the garage, and
Oh,
that's when we got
storage.
extra. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
Well,
the
the
message
exercise you
is, would
got.
you like to all have a book? Get it from her and not Amazon, because then she can
Yes.
empty out her storage unit.
Yeah, I need to empty that
Perfect.
storage. Well, I do the distributing from Amazon, so you could, but you know, it's easier through me. If you would like one, that'd be cool.
We have
It's
to
a
have her
great
bring them to
story.
the
It's a great-
holiday party.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great human
Yeah.
interest book.
Oh yeah.
So, but thanks for
Cool.
listening.
Oh, this has been
That was great.
Yeah, that
So
was
much fun.
fabulous.
And
Thank
I know
you.
a lot of members will watch it. You know,
Yeah.
it's recorded. So there'll
Yeah.
be many others who get to watch this. And
Oh, great,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
just give me a couple days.
Beautiful. Well, I appreciate the ideas and where Jean will go with getting us working with you to coordinate when and what and all that. So we can the story of your book and your work continues with our field
Yes.
trip. So that's exciting.
Okay.
Cool.
And with that too, Jean, would you like to, do you have a copy of the agenda that I sent yesterday?
I probably do, but I don't know that I've looked at it.
I can just hit the one note I put on there if you'd prefer me to do that for you.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, awesome. So we do have another program that just recently got scheduled that we wanted to let everybody know about, and that is a Zoom workshop on revisions titled Time to Revise with the fabulous Kelly Ann Ellis, who we know of as a hot poet because she does the Hot Poet Equinox publication contest that happens, and she has offered to do this revision workshop, and that's for poetry and prose. So that's going to be October 27th from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. And that is also on the WIVLA calendar, so you can sign up for that.
And I was going to say, I recommend that you sign in as a WIVLA member before you go to the calendar, because you get a $5 discount if you do that.
Fantastic.
Okay.
And it will be. I attended a wonderful workshop a couple of weekends ago, and it was fantastic. I mean, just some real sort of simple ways to revise, and yeah, it helped me a lot with some things I was working on.
And our next meeting will be Bridget Mongian, but we're hoping there's no hurricanes, no derechos, no catastrophes of any sort, because so far I've rescheduled this one so often, it really worries me. So I hope it's not jinxed, and because she's fascinated. She's working on a couple of books right now, and I think she's going to bring her daughter along for this, and her daughter is also working on a book. And then of course there's her sculptures, and which are just amazing. To see the models for them out of plasticine are just fantastic. So that's next time.
Awesome. And thanks for the scheduling and the rescheduling, Jean, that it's taking to get Bridget. She's worth it. She's worth the trouble, but we also honor the effort you're putting in to get her back on the calendar when these weather events have happened. So it is 7:50. If anybody would like to have, any members want to make some announcements, we can rapid fire our announcements, just raise your hand and I will call on you to run us through. Melody.
A real quick one. I think Denise has left the call, but she and I were both accepted into WCA's Arborea exhibition, which will be up during our 30th anniversary celebration. I don't know if anyone else in Wivla got in. I have not been paying attention lately.
That is exciting. I feel like I saw one more, but I'm not sure. Is it you, Susan?
Well, it wasn't me, but
Okay.
I have a request. For the collaboration, I created a sculpture that I'm looking for a pedestal. And I was wondering if anybody might have one or know where I could get one to display my piece.
Go ahead and put something on our member website too, on our Facebook page,
Mm-hmm.
and make a call there too. Maybe you haven't. I've been out of town and now I have contractors. My life is not my. But yeah, try that. But yeah, I may know someone. You might want to reach out to Deborah Ellington to see if she's got one that she can spare. I know she's got to bring one for hers.
Okay.
But she.
Do we
Sure.
know who provided those for the post show? There were two 3D.
They brought their own. You had to bring
they
their
brought
own.
their own. Okay.
Anyone else? Announcements?
Can't think.
Is this weekend when there's some get-togethers to make stuff for the 30th?
That is for people who are on the board or volunteers for the anniversary event.
Is it this
Correct.
weekend now?
Is that
Yeah.
Saturday or Sunday?
Yes, I think it's both. It's
Excellent.
both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's both?
Yeah, it's one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, and to clarify that, I will send an email to that group as
I
a
think the Sunday
reminder.
one's at my studio, isn't it?
That's right,
I
Melody.
think so.
The Saturday one is at Marie's and the Sunday one is at Melody's.
How'd that date get here so fast?
I know.
This is totally off topic, but up near Caddo Lake State Park, which is between Dallas and Shreveport, amazing Cypress Lake, is the old town of Jefferson, historic Jefferson, Texas. And there is the historic Jefferson Hotel that is filled with curios and curiosities. And there is a room dedicated to dolls.
Oh.
And they
awesome.
are everywhere, ceiling, floor. I mean, there's probably 100 dolls in this room. It's the historic Jefferson Hotel, and you might find some little treasure in there.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
Oh,
Well, now
you're on
it's-
mute.
Yeah, you're muted.
When I showed you the picture of the Japanese friendship doll,
Uh-huh.
because that was not government sponsored, it was done by a minister and a private citizen, that we just sent over these 26 dolls that were, blue-eyed baby dolls, and they sent over these masterpieces
Oh, wow.
masterpieces of work. Those dolls are 30 inches high, but they didn't go to official locations. They didn't go to museums, or they went to libraries and YMCAs and
Oh, wow.
places. And so when the author started working on the subject, the word got out and people started looking in the bowels of their libraries and things and finding these friendship dolls.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's
And,
cool.
so you know what? I'll go up there to that Jefferson Hotel and see if they've got one, because you just never
You
know.
should- yeah. There's a lot of interesting things in the end. It's just a fun trip. So, well, good. Let me know how it goes.
Okay, I will.
Okay.
But
Very cool.
Jefferson, it's in Jefferson, Texas?
Yeah, Jefferson, Texas. And yeah, I always think of it because of Caddo Lake, CADDO.
Yes.
State Park, and then it's like 30 minutes from Caddo Lake is Jefferson. This is nice little bistros, places to stay, and you can stay in the historic Jefferson Hotel. And the doll room is a little scary to me at the hotel, but it's really cool, and there's a lot of dolls in there.
Okay.
And isn't Jefferson known for all of the haunted places?
It has ghost in history on their website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've been on television. Ghost hunters go there. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been there a
Oh,
few times
wow.
looking for ghosts.
Well,
Yeah,
I don't
cool.
see Ellen on here anymore,
I
but
know.
I feel like that might be a nice, inspiring trip for people who need to
Yeah.
write something for haunted holidays.
Oh, absolutely.
Trip to Jefferson
Um,
will get you going.
We have another doll maker in our midst here, and it's Carol Watson down at the bottom there. And
Hey,
she
Carol, I haven't seen you in a while. Hey, with those
She just-
glasses, you didn't really look like yourself.
she just had a fabulous show at the Cloisters that I saw, and I haven't seen her dolls in person. I want to do that someday, but she makes these fabulous dolls. You want to say anything,
Let me
Carol?
get one. Yeah, let me get one and show you. I'll be right over here. Just a sec.
Ooh,
Oh,
awesome.
good.
We need to get her to turn on the light.
Yeah, the sun is going down and we're all
Yeah.
starting to get kind of
Yes.
freaky
Yeah.
looking here. Oh yeah, that's no good either.
Can you see me?
It's better.
Well, first of all, it's this is photograph of these little mannequins, and they're made from reclaimed, repurposed kimono.
Oh, cool.
And this was a part of my exhibition. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
This was a part of the exhibition, and there's 17 of these dolls, and my show was called the Bento Kimono Confluence, and here's one of the real ones.
Oh my gosh,
wow.
Carol.
So I handmade everything,
Oh, that's beautiful.
and they're various sizes. They're various sizes, but the kimono had been damaged or worn or a lot of things like that, and I repurposed them and restored them. And so I had all these boxes in the Amazon boxes that filled up the garage. So I hand painted all these boxes, and each one of the dolls has a bento box.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's just
Congratulations.
one of them.
Carol, have you heard of any of the Texas doll organizations?
Yeah.
ODOC?
Yeah. But I never had, I mean, years ago, I kind of fumbled around with it, but this was just this one set aside thing that I did. I did a watercolor for each one of the dolls, and then the box, and then the little mannequins, and they go from 9 inches to 3 feet, and the 3-foot doll or mannequin was in our collaboration for when we did the Beast and the Beauty or something we did over the Jewish Museum. So that was like the beginning of the doll making of that particular
There's a
series.
couple of there's a Texas organization for doll makers. And I know some people that are members of, and then there's a couple of national ones. If you're interested, just let me know.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You might enjoy that.
But there's just a whole bunch more, and it's kind of scary because they've taken over, and I don't know what to do with them. I love them. I don't know.
Well, same here. You can see.
Great.
Well, that is beautiful. And I I think this is a great place to stop this meeting because that is such a perfect way to show how WIVLA seeks to support each other and collaborate and lift up each other's voices. So I love that connection that was just made. And I'm just celebrating the kinds of things we naturally do when we get together and share our interests and our crafts. So thanks for sharing your dolls with us too, Carol. And thanks, Anne, for your presentation. Yeah, and everybody on the call and everybody that watches later. Yeah, it's beautiful. And thanks, Melody, for making the recording available.
Coming soon, coming soon.
Yeah, and the follow-up studio tours. So yeah, keep an eye on the calendars, everybody.
Tea party.
Yeah.
Tea party.
I think so. I think so.
All right.
All right.
Sounds like a good
Well,
idea.
have
All right.
a good rest of your night, everybody. And
Good
thanks
night,
again.
everyone.
Okay,
Thank you,
bye.
Anne.
Bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.